All right, so you see the big board here. That's one board to talk about because it speaks to our economy in the United States. But there is also another board to talk about, and that is the scoreboard for President Trump on trade deals. So his administration saying they've added another country to their tallies on that board. The U.S. and the EU have reached a trade deal. Here's what we know about it: 15% on most European goods. The president says the U.S. is also very close to a deal with China. CBS News MoneyWatch correspondent Kelly O'Grady. Okay, so Kelly, is it safe to say that of all the trade deals that the president wants to make, China is the big fish to hook? And then I guess another extension to that question is, if there is a template now starting to emerge with these other trade deals, the European Union, et cetera, could that template inform what happens with China?
So you are absolutely right. China is definitely the big fish here. This is sort of the last domino in terms of the big trading partners. Agnostic of Canada and Mexico, but that's likely more of a 2026 problem when that free trade agreement comes up for renegotiation, that USMCA. But if you think about whether this is a blueprint, I mean, Indonesia, Philippines, EU, Japan, all of those recent trade deals have had some form of investment by those countries or blocs in the U.S. We saw that, of course, with the EU trade deal being announced. They're going to buy $750 billion of American energy, as well as invest $600 billion in addition to what they already do. All of those other countries that I mentioned, there was some component of that element in there, especially Japan. And then there was an element of opening up their markets. And so some, meaning that at least some sectors or all sectors would face zero tariff for U.S. goods being sold into the countries. I think that's ideally what the White House would like to get from China. But there's a lot less leverage that they have with China than they did with the EU, for example, where you have 27 different nations that as a bloc are very, very influential, but sort of individually rely more on the U.S. than the U.S. relies on them. We know when it comes to China, semiconductor chips, those are the chips, the building blocks that power all of this AI development. That's going to be a key component of that negotiation, as well as rare earth minerals. So in theory, that might be a blueprint, but I think with China, it's going to be very, very unique and specific.
Okay, so from international money matters to domestic money matters. Do you get on social media much on the weekends, Kelly?
Oh, I do.
Oh, so you were seeing what I saw with that sort of iconic moment between President Donald Trump and Fed Chair Jerome Powell in hard hats, having a gentleman's disagreement on things. And that really made me curious about what is going to be happening this week when the Fed meets once again to discuss interest rates. So does the criticism from the White House put pressure on Jerome Powell to now see lower interest rates? What kind of tea leaves are you seeing there?
Well, first and foremost, Reed, I was so glad to see the social media world finally be focused on this wonderful little nerdy part of my life, the Federal Reserve and the interest rate decision. It was memes galore. But I think to answer your question, the pressure from the White House is certainly about interest rates. You know, it was about the construction, but really the backdrop was they want the Fed to lower interest rates. For this meeting that kicks off tomorrow and the decision is going to come out Wednesday, they're not going to make a move. The markets are pricing in a 97% chance that there will be no change in interest rates, and that is because they want to wait and see. September, though, is where we're going to focus on whether that pressure or whether it's the economic data. Remember, the Fed is supposed to be separate from the White House. It looks as of now that they are going to continue with that mandate, and they're really going to be looking at this Friday jobs report to influence that September meeting. This meeting, though, this week, likely absolutely no change.
Okay, Kelly. And by the way, for the record, I don't think you're a nerd, but if you are, may nerds rule the world. Kelly O'Grady, CBS News MoneyWatch correspondent. Thank you so much, my friend.